And we are going to start with our prayer before study. So everybody, get your book out, turn to the prayer before study, or if you know it, you do not have to do that. And we shall begin. Christ, my Lord, the giver of light and wisdom, who opened the eyes of the blind man and transformed the fishermen into wise heralds and teachers of the gospel through the coming of the Holy Spirit, shine also in my mind the light of the grace of the Holy Spirit. Grant me discernment, understanding, and wisdom in learning. Enable me to complete my assignments and to abound in every good work, for to you I give honor and glory. Amen. Most blessed Lord, send the grace of your Holy Spirit on me to strengthen me, that I may learn well the subject I am about to study, and by it become a better person, for your glory, the comfort of my family, and the benefit of your church and our nation. Amen. Very good. Let us begin with looking at the beginnings of the Renaissance, but first, what does the word Renaissance mean? Oh, yes. Sorry. We will not do that first. We will not do that first. We will... I don't have papers for you, but you have papers for me. So if you could all, this side give your papers to Anne, this side give your papers to Ben, and then Ben and Anne can give them to me.
What side is she on?
What?
What side is
She gets to choose which... Oh, no, she already emailed. I already got it.
my paper does not work?
Yeah, she's having printer issues as well, and I already have hers. That is fine, because then she can reach me better. Thank you. I am interested. Okay, we need to stop talking about printers. Thank you. We're going to read another paper this week, but it's going to be Hobbit related. And so we're going to wait and talk about that later. So if I play my cards right, we will have half an hour to talk about Florence and half an hour to talk about the Hobbit and I don't think we need half an hour to talk about your paper. But let us now, we can go to your questions on page 41. And okay, now we'll go to my question. What does... this book is called Renaissance and Reformation Times. First of all, what is the Reformation? Let's just get that out of the way because I think that's easier. Okay, that is the start of Protestantism, we would say. That is the start of the Protestant movement when the church in the West split. So we will be visiting that later in the, not later in the semester, but in a couple of weeks, in a few weeks. But it gets mentioned a little bit here in the first chapter. Okay, so that's the Reformation. What is the Renaissance? Have you heard the term Renaissance before?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows it, but what does it mean?
It's the time period between the Middle Ages
In the modern world?
and
It,
the modern world. I can't exactly give you the...
a lot of people would say the modern world started at the Renaissance. That everything, post-Renaissance is the modern world. Modern doesn't mean what we think it means. It doesn't mean, it's happening in 2026. Modern means everything over the last several hundred years. So like, the year 1800 is the modern world.
I would think of modern in the United States, like after the Revolutionary Years.
And that's not too bad, but most people would put it before that. So, but did they just, what does the word mean? It's a French word. Does anybody know what naissance means? My Latin students haven't learned this word, nasci, natur. Okay, no, I was thinking of a Christmas hymn, and I was trying to think if the word was in the lyrics, but I don't think it was. Naissance comes from a Latin word that means birth. What does re in front of a word usually mean? Not new, but what does usually mean? Again. I need you to redo that. Did you already do it if I say that? If I say, I need you to redo that. Yeah. Did you already do it once? Yes, you did. And I need you to do it again. So if you return, you come back again, right? So renaissance. What does that mean? Oh, birth.
Rebirth.
Rebirth. To be born again. Not in the sense that Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. Here's what people in the Renaissance thought. Those Middle Ages that Bryn was talking about, they were lousy. And we now have the key, not we now, we in the year 1500, 1400, have the key to make the world better. And it's going to be a new civilization. I've simplified it tremendously. Not everybody was thinking that way, but that was the general feeling, right? That we're being born anew. Europe is being born anew out of those Middle Ages. Yes?
And they discovered the New World in 14.
Okay, so this is a very good time to look at that first question I asked you. I said list at least 5 changes, and I found more than 5, in attitude or politics that swept across Europe in the 14th to 16th centuries, but first to second. When are the 14th through 16th centuries? What years are those?
13 and 14.
The 1300s and the 1400s and the 1500s. The 16th century would be the 1500s. Okay, give me one, Ben.
The printing press was created.
Okay, the printing press. Let's just stop and talk right there. What? Why? Who cares? Who cares?
I care.
We can print the Bible.
But why does this? We had the Bible. We had books.
Let's work.
In large quantities.
Okay, so we can get. What were we doing before when we wanted a book? Remember Columba? Do you remember St. Columba? I'm just gonna take this book, and I'm gonna write out my whole entire own copy.
We were sending our youngest sons to the monasteries. Here, you become a scribe.
Yes, and copy down this book. So imagine if I said to you guys, oh, we're going to use Dorothy Mill's Renaissance and Reformation Times. So I can lend each of you my book, and you can make a copy for yourselves. And you can write it all out. And then we'll start the class. What? Can you imagine? So suddenly, everybody can have a printed copy. Tell me something else. When there's not, what's the difference in cost between when there's not very many of something and when there's plenty of something?
The price goes down.
Yeah, price goes down when you can print them. So you can just go to a store and buy a copy of a book. That's within everybody's means, but it wasn't before. Your average person, that's a lot of money for a handwritten book.
Now slaves can buy it.
Possibly, if the slaves can read. However, yeah, I mean, there were still slaves, but at this point, we're probably talking about serfs, right? I don't know that they could read, so a book wouldn't do them any good. But if you can read, many more people have access to books. So that was huge, 1453. What's something else that someone wrote down? A change, whatever I said here. Change in attitude or politics. Do you have one, Bryn? Give me one. Well, you give me one. I'm talking. You had your hand going in motion.
They questioned the authority of the Pope and decided they could do without God and go with science.
Okay. That's a very good summary of that. Let me see if I can find how Dorothy Mills phrases that. Okay. Yes. Men began questioning the rightness of the temporal interests of the papacy, they soon began thinking of its teaching and asking for a return to a Christianity free from the tangles and intrigues of worldly affairs. That's not exactly what you said. I agree with what you said. This is a good time for us to think. Does everybody understand what Bryn said? We don't want to trust the church, we want to trust science. Okay. Listen to what I'm reading and you tell me how it's different from the way Bryn phrased it. Everybody ready? Buckle up, here it comes. When men began questioning the rightness of the temporal interests of the papacy, that means in the world, owning land and that sort of thing, they soon began thinking of its teaching and asking, the church's teaching, and asking for a return to a Christianity free from the tangles and intrigues of worldly affairs. She said, we want to trust science, not the church. What did this that I read, what was the problem people had with the church?
The church owning land.
The church owning land, the church managing land, the church being part of the feudal system. Because if you guys have a bunch of schoolwork to do and you have chores to do and you have extracurricular activities, can it be difficult to keep all of them going all at once? Sure. I mean, you can do it, but you've got to balance it just right. But can you spend all your time on one of them? What is the church supposed to spend almost all its time on?
Teaching and
Yeah.
praying and
Yes.
delivering sacraments.
Yes, God. God's business. But if you have to spend some of your time hiring a manager for your land and overseeing the crops, do you see the problem? You can do it, but it takes away the focus of your attention. So now Bryn added something to that. The rise of science. Do you guys remember, and I bet you will, because of the name, Roger Bacon? Do you remember Mr. Bacon? We read about Roger Bacon in the 1200s, maybe 1300s, and he said, look, here's how to really know about things. Go out and look at it, weigh it, measure it, test it. We call that science. But does anybody remember the problem we had with that? If you really want to know things, go out there and measure it and test it and weigh it and look at it from all angles. Great. Is there any problem with that?
Don't want to do it.
That is a problem. We're going to assume they do want to do it. Let me make the question easier for you. If I want to know about rocks, is there any problem with somebody saying, go out there and collect some rocks and measure the rocks and weigh the rocks and look at the properties of the rocks? Will that help me know rocks better?
Yes.
Why not?
I said yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I absolutely. If I just sit in a chair and think about rocks really hard, will that help me know more about rocks? It won't really. So going out and measuring the rocks and weighing the rocks and finding out that pumice, is really light. It's a volcanic rock, and this, other sedimentary rock will dissolve and flake away. And okay, yes. Now, if I want to know more about being the person God wants me to be, will it help me to weigh it and measure it and?
Figuratively speaking.
Yeah, very figuratively speaking. I can't really observe it. If I want to know God better, or I want to know about angels, or I want to learn how to pray better, measuring it and weighing it is not really going to help. In other words, there's things that science can't study. Some might say the most important things. Can you weigh and measure how to love other people better? You can't really. You can't. So he had a good point. And it's true for very many things, but we can't apply it to everything. Okay, that's enough of that. What is another, I asked for at least 5, and we've only heard 2. What's another change in attitude or politics? Or inventions I could include in that. Did anybody write down something else? Yeah, Anne.
Men began thinking independently, like individuals.
Okay, the importance of the individual and of the nation state. Got to remember, in the Middle Ages, it was Christendom. It was the Christian kingdom. And there was a France, and there was a Spain, but people didn't really think about those as being the most important things. It was, we're all the Christian Europe. And now suddenly we have France and the Holy Roman Empire, which you can kind of put Germany in as a placeholder for that, although they're not geographically exactly the same. Or Spain, or England, or Scotland. Those people started thinking of themselves as members of a nation, not just members of the church. And also making decisions for ourselves. We already talked about the Reformation, right? The idea that we'll just decide what we're going to teach and what we're going to believe. Individualism. Okay, give me another one. We got 3. We're going to not stop till we get 5. Does anybody other than Bryn have another one? Or Ben? Does anybody who hasn't given me one have one? Be brave.
I do, but I'm not sure if it's correct or not.
Go for it.
They believe that Christendom was one big state.
That was more the Middle Ages. So what you just went along with, whoever just spoke last? Ann? Okay. Yeah. Instead of, oh, we're all just one big happy family of Christendom, now I'm French, I'm Spanish, that sort of thing. And that means maybe I don't like your country, right? We're not one big happy family anymore. That's definitely something that changed, though. So you got that right. That is a shift and a change. Okay, I want to know if Christian or Julia or Luke has anything. 'Cause there were a lot of them. Did you write down anything?
Not really.
Why not?
I don't know.
You couldn't find anything?
I tried, but I can't.
Okay. How about you, Julia? You got anything? All right. I'm going to read I know, okay, go for it, Bryn.
They switched from Latin and they did some Greek.
Yes, new languages, using national languages. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. All right, I'm going to burn, for time constraints, I'm just going to burn through. Okay, because I numbered 6 or 7. Okay, here's what I highlighted. Okay, empire giving way to smaller nationalities. We talked about that. The invention of gunpowder. Questioning the papacy. Invention of printing. Importance of the individuals. We got a lot of these. Discovery of the New World. Guys, we'll talk about this later, but I just want to impress upon you. Somebody came back and said, there's huge pieces of land and people living on them that we never knew existed.
There's over across this huge ocean that we haven't crossed.
The only thing if somebody said, we have absolutely 100% found aliens on another planet, that's what it's like. That's what it would be like for us. If you can picture that. They make movies where this happens, right? Imagine if that's in the news. We talked to them. We took pictures of them. It's 100% certain there are aliens living on wherever. And our whole image of the solar system and the universe has changed. That's what it was like for these people. Are you kidding me? There's people living over there? You know, in about the year 1300, one writer that we're going to talk about in a minute wrote a very famous poem. And in his, there was nothing but water on the other side of the world from them. Like you have Europe and Asia and Africa, and they don't really know how far South Africa goes. But everything, it's just water. It's just all water on the other side. All right, what else did I highlight? The fall of Constantinople. In other words, what was Constantinople? What was its? It was the new Rome. It was the Roman Empire. In other words, the Roman Empire finally fell in 1453. Okay, awesome. So those are the things we're going to explore all this semester in this book. The other chapter, the portion of the chapter that you read, was about Italy. How was Italy organized in the 15th century? In other words, was there just this country we called Italy?
No, it was broken up into like small states and provinces. And
Go ahead.
yeah, and instead of like having an army, they hired mercenaries and stuff instead of having.
It's like the city-states.
It was like the city-states of Greece. We have Venice, and Venice is its own thing. It's just Venice. It's got its own ruler, it's got its own soldiers, it's got its own government. Then Florence is something, and Milan is something, and Siena is something. And they're all separate. There is no Italy like there is today. One government that rules over all of it. Yes, they were Italians. I mean, there was an Italia back in Roman times. But at this point, it's not a unified whole anymore, just like Brent said, just like Greece. And what was the city-state that you read about specifically in Italy? The rest of this was about what? Florence. I brought this in just so you can see what we're talking about. It's not a very big map because I was too lazy to bring a big map. So Rome is here and Florence is up here. Most of these city-states, because remember, this was the papal lands, right? It is today. Vatican City is right there in Rome. In Naples and southern Italy were fought over by various people. So what we're going to read about when they talk about Venice and Siena and all these, they're all up here. If I had my glasses on, it would help. Because you're going to read about, where are you? Oh, Venice is right here. So all of these places, can you see, here's Venice, here's Florence, and where's our key? This is 100 miles. This line here that you can see kind of was not even as long as my first two knuckles here, is 100 miles. It's like Quad Cities, Peoria, Geneseo. These are the distances we're talking about. So no wonder, they were fighting all the time because it was a quick hop, skip, and a jump over there and attack them. This is a picture of Florence today. Isn't that pretty? This is the church, the main church in Florence. It was built in the 1400s, and it is still there. I do not know, but this is on my agenda of a place I plan to be going there in May. And you can climb the dome. You can also climb the Campanile, which is the bell tower, which is a little cheaper and has 50 fewer steps. Maybe I'll go for that. So I will get back to you on that. What is housed in it? So what family unofficially ruled Florence? famous family that if you read any medieval history or Renaissance history at all, you run into that family. The Medici family. Lorenzo de' Medici. There were popes that came from the Medici family. They were great patrons of art. So Florence became a hub of famous art. If you are familiar with the enormous marble statue of David by Michelangelo, I should bring that in to look at. It's in Florence. It was made in Florence and it's currently in Florence, and I hope to see it as well. I'm not bringing it in, a picture. All right, let me make sure I don't skip anything that I wanted to talk about. Next week is a week of scientists and artists and whatnot. These Medicis were just bankers. They ran a bank. So how were they in charge of Florence? Florence had a government, you know. What do you think, Bryn? Okay, money, as they say, money talks. They don't mean that literally. If your money talks to you literally, you should talk to someone about that and get some help. But it means that if you have money, you have influence. Because unfortunately, many people are not immune to being offered money for things. And many people who have money, although we are instructed as Christians to be no respecter of persons, right? If somebody rich comes into your church and somebody poor comes into your church, you treat them the same. But the world doesn't treat them the same, does it? The world welcomes the rich people because they think the rich people can do something for them. And the poor people can't. So the Medicis were rich. They were bankers. They had a lot of power. When your nephew is the Pope, or your uncle is the Pope, you have a lot of power. Back then, anyway. Now, it's not the same today. I mean, it's an honor. I saw interviews with Pope Leo's brother in Chicago, you know, when he first got elected Pope. It's like, what would that be like? Yeah, my brother's the Pope and he lives at the Vatican. What? That's just amazing. But it doesn't mean that his brother can do anything he wants in Chicago because his brother's the Pope, right? If he gets stopped for speeding, he can't just say, hey, my brother's the Pope. Let me go. They're not gonna do that. But back then you could not get away with speeding because people weren't really speeding back then. And here's a description of Florence. The city was in a state of profound peace, and the governing classes of the citizens were so united and so closely knit together, and their power was so firmly established, this is under Lorenzo de' Medici, that no man dared to question it. The people were kept amused every day by shows, festivals, and novelties. This is always a good idea. Talented and able men were maintained, and a welcome and a position secured to all teachers of literature, art, and every liberal pursuit. In 1492, under Lorenzo de' Medici. Now, Bryn mentioned something else that happened in Florence, and it had to do with the fall of Constantinople. In 1453, the Turks came and Constantinople fell, and everybody grabbed whatever books they could get and they ran away. And they ran to Europe, they ran west. These people knew Greek. Because hello, they were from Greece, a lot of them, and they were from a place where they had always spoken Greek, and their books were in Greek. And everybody freaked out because there were suddenly a bunch of Greek teachers. And they could finally learn Greek. People hadn't known Greek for 1,000 years in Europe. Very few. So this is the account of a man named Bruni. He says, then first came a knowledge of Greek, which had not been in use among us for 700 years. Chrysoloras the Byzantine, a man of noble birth and well-versed in Greek letters, brought Greek learning to us. When his country was invaded by the Turks, He came by sea first to Venice, and then he was besought, and he came to Florence. Listen to this guy's attitude about learning. He kind of puts me to shame. Maybe he puts you to shame too. I burned with love of academic studies and had spent no little pains in dialectic and rhetoric. At the coming of Chrysoloras, I was torn in mind, deeming it shameful to desert the law. He was training to be a lawyer. And yet a crime to lose such a chance of studying Greek literature. And often, with youthful impulse, I thought I would say to myself, thou, when it is permitted thee to gaze on Homer, Plato, and Demosthenes, and the other poets, wilt thou desert and rob thyself? Wilt thou neglect this opportunity so divinely offered? So people started learning Greek. Okay, let's move on to the writers. Dorothy Mills mentioned two writers. I'm only really going to talk about one of them. It's Dante. In what language did Dante write poetry?
Italian.
Italian. What did everyone else write in? Latin. Why did everybody write in Latin in the Middle Ages?
So that everybody could read it.
Because everybody that went to school knew Latin. If you could read at all, you knew Latin. It was just a thing. So if you are living in Spain, or you are living in the Holy Roman Empire, or you're living in England, or you're living in France, if you write in Latin, all of Europe can read it. Also, it was just considered high class. The language that people speak out on the farm, or in the fields, or that the serfs speak to each other, that was considered rather low class. Sort of today, we have dialects of English that are considered a little lower class. People who say ain't, which actually once upon a time was a legitimate thing to say, because we don't have a word amant. Amant doesn't exist. Ain't is, but that's not considered okay anymore. So people use a higher class English when they write upper class literature. Dante said, no, I want everybody to read my poem in Italy. I'm going to write in Italian. And he wrote an enormous poem called The Divine Comedy. It's not ha 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 funny. It's comedy because it has a happy ending. And the happy ending is being with God, is a glimpse of God in paradise. That's a very happy ending. Hopefully someday you will read this long poem. We will not be reading this long poem. All right. What kind of political leader did Machiavelli think Italy needed? Or how was he described, this master that should take over Italy? Yeah, Luke.
He thought that Italy needed a kind and honest leader, but also one that would unite Italy.
Okay. One that would unite Italy, definitely. I'm not sure about the kind and honest, Luke. I got to tell you. What did you say, Bryn?
He thinks that they need a big army
Okay.
to go around and push people around.
But they need somebody in charge of the army. And what kind of guy is this going to be?
Smart, military.
Okay, he's going to be smart. Let me read what she said. Machiavelli advocated the dominance of a strong, despotic master. Do you guys know what a despot is? What is despotic rule? Do you know? It means the same thing that we mean today when we say you're a tyrant. And he believed that such a ruler should be bound by no ordinary codes. Politics, he believed, should be entirely separate from ethics. What is ethics? Ben, are you with me? Okay.
Yes, the church.
Well, yes, it doesn't have to be. I mean, certainly it's connected tightly to the church, but in a lot of people's minds, it isn't necessarily. What is an what does it mean if you did something and it was an ethical decision?
Like
What does ethical mean?
smart. Or
No. I am really glad I asked, because this is kind of an important point. So, ethical means moral. Ethics is the study of morality, what is right, what is wrong. So here's an ethics problem. I don't like this problem, but it's a modern ethics problem that they'll give. Say you're on a runaway train, a runaway trolley, and, oh, how does it go? You have a choice between killing, I'm changing this a little bit. This isn't the way they usually say it, but this is a fine question too. You can change the track, and either you're going to kill a few really important people, or you're going to kill just a lot of ordinary people. And an ethical question they might ask is, which will you do? Which should you do? Yeah, I like neither. Or if you're in a lifeboat and not everyone will fit in the lifeboat, who are you going to throw out, or what are you going to do? So I like that. In modern ethics, they often just want to see what's useful. But in true ethics, you want to examine what's right. So let me read that again. After I closed the book and lost the page, let's read it again. And then you tell me, no, that's what ethics means. Doing the right thing, being moral. Is everybody ready to listen again? Politics, he believed, should be entirely separate from ethics. Success was what mattered, so the end justified the means. What does it mean that he thinks politics should be separate from ethics? If you have to make a political decision, what do you not even think about?
ethics, morality.
Hmm? Is it right or wrong? We don't care. What do we care about? If I have to make a decision and I'm a politician, according to Machiavelli. What did she say? Oh, I closed it again. I'll quote. Success was what mattered. I'm going to read you. This is Machiavelli's book. It's in English. He wrote it in Latin. This is a translation. This is not the actual book that Machiavelli. Let me read a couple of excerpts. And I know this might not seem amazingly exciting, but buckle up and listen to what he says. Seriously. There is a general rule to be noted here. People should be either caressed or crushed. If you do them minor damage, they will get their revenge. But if you cripple them, there is nothing they can do. If you need to injure someone, do it in such a way that you do not have to fear their vengeance. What?
It's like
Okay, does that give you a vibe?
something, just fix it enough so that the next person who uses it thinks they're great.
Listen to this. Okay, I'm only going to read two excerpts here. So there's a lot of this sort of thing. So the conclusion is, if you take control of a state, you should make a list of all the crimes you have to commit and do them all at once. That way, you will not have to commit new atrocities every day. And you will be able, by not repeating your evil deeds, to reassure your subjects and win their support by treating them well. He who acts otherwise, either out of squeamishness or out of bad judgment, has to hold a bloody knife in his hand all the time. He can never rely on his subjects, for they can never trust him, for he's always making new attacks upon them. Do all the harm you must at once, and the same time. That way the full extent of it will not be noticed, and it will give least offense. One should do good, on the other hand, little by little, so the people can fully appreciate it.
That guy sounds like he's like knows how to deal with
Makes
people.
sense.
You know what? Here's the frightening thing, Luke. It does make sense. And people this was actually written as advice to I think it was a Florentine leader, an Italian leader of how to run the city-state. When you grab power, do everything bad all at once. Kill everybody you got to get rid of all at once, so hopefully people won't notice how bad it is. Don't do it little by little. When you have to take someone down, take them down in such a way that they can't ever get revenge on you. Completely immobilize them or get them out of the way. This is what is known as Machiavellian politics. It means we only care about success. We don't really care whether it's right or not. People in the Middle Ages, they might have behaved like this sometimes, but they didn't think like this. They didn't say it out loud. They didn't say this is what you should do. They say, well, this is what we might have to do. It's terrifying. All right, for next week, I would like you to finish chapter 2. It is rather longish. So you don't have to, I would like you to answer the questions, but you don't have to dwell on everything. It's a lot of artists and inventors and scientists and that sort of thing that were in Florence. And then there's some about Venice as well. And I'm going to start little by little bringing in paintings, pictures of the paintings, so that you can see. It doesn't do any good to read about, oh, this guy painted this famous picture, this guy's famous. Let's look at them together. So we'll spend a lot of time this semester looking at artwork, because that's one thing the Renaissance is known for. Okay.
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
After Rome fell, was the church kind of the main power in the world?
Yes. Well, you mean after Constantinople fell?
I kind of mean, yeah, kind of after the Roman.
Well, in the West, yes. I mean, the church was the only thing left in the West, which is why the Pope kind of took the place of the emperor in Rome. By the time Constantinople fell, there was already lots of unrest that was going to lead to the Reformation. And so the church never had the same amount of power again after the Reformation. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. While we are talking about assignments, for next week in The Hobbit, you're going to read chapters 12 through 19. And for the rest of our time, I want to talk about The Hobbit. I want to talk about some more about characters. I also want to look at some of the settings. Your assignment is really going to be to write one paragraph. But I'm going to be very specific about how to lay this paragraph out. But it's not going to be very long, but I want it to be really good, right? So remember that we talked about scattering your energies versus channeling them into one thing. That's what we're going to do. Okay, this is a question for people who haven't. Okay, again, remind me, is there anyone here who's never read The Hobbit before or doesn't know the story? You know, everybody knows the story? Have you seen the movies? Is that, okay. Okay, so there's nobody that's going to be surprised by anything that happens. Your surprise might come that the movies ruined so much of it, interact to the plot. Okay, so that, I was going to ask if there was anything that surprised people in the reading this week, and probably not, because you knew it was coming. Let's take a look, first of all, before we talk about the characters and what's going on, at some of the settings. What is the setting of a story? What do we mean by setting?
Like when it is, where it is.
Okay, when it is, where it is, what the vibe is like there, what the ambiance and the aura. Is it dark and foreboding? Is it like haunted house level? Is it peaceful green meadow with butterflies on the flowers? Different settings give you different feelings, right? Yes, thunderstorm, lightning over haunted-looking, dilapidated house. That gives you a completely different vibe. Does The Hobbit have one setting or many settings?
Men.
What is the Shire like?
A nasty dirty.
No?
That's what it says it's not.
That's what it says it's not. Yes.
So it's kind of like a little village.
It's like a little village. Do people seem to know each other in the Shire? Yeah, people seem to almost too well. If you live, well, I don't think any of us have this experience. Even if you live in a small town, we have internet and we travel and but once upon a time, if you lived in a small town, everybody was in everybody's business. You couldn't hide anything you did. Everybody knew what you were up to. It was very easy to tell, right? And in a small enough town, almost everybody's related to everybody else in some way, shape, or form. When I go back to the small town where my grandparents and great-grandparents are from and they're buried there, there's like 4 last names that are exceedingly prominent, and I'm related to all of them. If you go back, a couple of generations, we you know each other. That's what the Shire is like. Can you describe it? This is why this is where the movies make it hard.
Describes it as comfort.
Okay, comfort, and that means comfort. So we talked about the fact that hobbits are, yes, but I don't mean a hobbit hole, I mean the Shire. What is the Shire like? Let's see. Does it tell us?
We saw a film on New Zealand and saw some stuff on it. The Shire looked very.
Yeah, but we're got to look at the book. Unfortunately, we can't look at videos or movies. We have to see what the book says about it. And you know what? I'm looking back through chapter 1, and it, as Ben pointed out, it describes the Hobbit hole very well. It doesn't describe the Shire. Okay, give me a moment, because I can't believe he doesn't describe the Shire ever. Okay, this is the party. Maybe it's in the 2nd chapter when he leaves that morning. You know what? Here's all we get. At first they had passed through Hobbit lands, a wide, respectable country inhabited by decent folk, with good roads, an inn or two, and now and then a dwarf or a farmer ambling by on business. Then they came to lands where people spoke strangely and sang songs Bilbo had never heard before. Now they had gone on far into the lone lands where there were no people left, no inns, and the roads grew steadily worse. So that gives us a vibe, doesn't it? What is the landscape of the Shire like? Or what is, okay, hilly?
Hilly, but like
Mellow hills.
Yeah, it's very mellow. Are you ever very far from a place where you can stop and get refreshment? No. Good roads, inns. Yeah, sleepy.
Lots of food and
Yeah. And
you can basically stop at any of your neighbors if it's a long
mhm.
walk.
How does that go along with what we said hobbits are like? Is that a suitable place, sort of place for them? Why? Why do you think it's suitable, Ben?
They're chill. They have a lot of friends and neighbors. They like hanging out with people.
Yeah. Having a drink or two, smoking the pipe, going to the inn, maybe getting an ale, whatever. We also, when Bilbo was describing the fireworks, Tolkien said, we've learned 2 things about Bilbo. He was not as boring as he seemed, and he also really likes flowers. So they garden. He likes what?
Good mornings.
Good mornings. The people who don't want to go anywhere and don't want to have anything exciting happen and like comfort, have a place that's very comfortable. Not particularly exciting. It's not, oh, spiky big mountains sticking up that you could climb. No, it's just all very rolling hills and easy and pleasant and calm. And it gives you the vibe. Okay. What's Rivendell like? Why is it the best?
Except for there's no meat.
No what?
Meat.
Oh, yeah. We don't ever hear them eat any meat, do they? Here, can I read the paragraph? Bilbo never forgot the way they slithered and slipped in the dusk down the steep zigzag path into the secret valley of Rivendell. Are you guys listening? The air grew warmer as they got lower, and the smell of the pine trees made him drowsy, so that every now and again he nodded and nearly fell off or bumped his nose on the pony's neck. Their spirits rose as they went down and down. The trees changed to beech and oak. What are oak trees like?
Big and majestic.
They're big, majestic, with lots of shade.
They're one of the only trees that can survive the friendly fires.
Yes. And they tend to take a long time to grow. They're very old. This aura of big, beautiful, majestic trees, more and more of them. And there was a comfortable feeling in the twilight. They came out into an open glade not far above the banks of a stream. It's a valley with big, beautiful trees. It's a secret valley. I mean, they have trouble finding it. A little bit. Gandalf's like, oh, here it is. Because it's tucked down with a stream and beautiful big trees as you go down. It gets warmer and warmer, and you just get sleepy and sleepy. And you can't really tell how long you've been here or what time it is. And why is this a good place for elves to live? What are elves like in general?
They just like sing a lot and party.
Okay. They're wise, but they sing, so they go down there and the elves are singing merry songs. They're in the trees. I do too.
You might say the dwarves are the caterpillars, the hobbits are the cocoon, and the elves are the butterflies.
The elves are the butterflies. But do they flit around here and there, the elves? No, they're just,
They have good agility.
they have good agility.
They move around smooth.
You may not know this about elves. I'm not making this up though. This is from the literature. Elves are immortal unless they're killed, right? Okay, they don't die.
Unless someone kills them in like battle.
Yes, unless they die, and they don't actually ever leave. Their spirits are bound here. So there's a place in the West where they go, and they don't really understand where the men go. They don't understand what the deal is with men. We haven't really met any men. Oh, we met Butterbur. No, that was in the Lord of the Rings. Sorry. Elrond's half elven. Elrond's dad is human, is a man, and his mom is an elf. Legolas is an elf. And they're immortal. And so time doesn't really matter for them very much because they're immortal. So they don't need to hurry. So they live in this place that's kind of sleepy, and then you eat, and then you sing, and then you sit by the fire, and then you stay up at night and sing under the stars, and it's very suitable for them because their lives last a really long time. As a matter of fact, some of you, we'll talk about this in Lord of the Rings, this is to whet your appetite. Galadriel is thousands of years old. Thousands and thousands of years old. Galadriel comes from the family that comes at the very beginning of all. Very famous. Finarfin or Fingolfin, I think. Okay. Family Fëanor. Not important for now. All right, let's look at another setting. One more setting. Mirkwood. What is Mirkwood like? Okay, first of all, that's all you'd have to tell me, and I just don't want to go there. Spiders. But what is this? That's somebody who lives there. What is the setting like? What is the place like?
They're like hidden from sunlight.
Yes. Okay. It's so dark. It's so dark at night they can't see anything. Very little sunlight gets through the trees during the day. Do you remember how Bilbo felt when he climbed up to the top? Ah,
And then
it's
even the
wind and
dwarves.
sun. What?
The dwarves who are used to caves and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
living underground, they're like, ugh.
Yes, this is a very good point. Dwarves live underground for extended periods of time, and they don't even like it. It says, just a second. It's not, I don't know why I marked that page. Hold on. Okay, oh, here we go. There was greenish light about them, and in places they could see some distance to either side of the path. Yet the light only showed them endless lines of straight, gray trunks like the pillars of some huge twilight hall. There was a breath of air and a noise of wind, but it had a sad sound. A few leaves came rustling down to remind them that outside autumn was coming on. Their feet ruffled among the dead leaves of countless other autumns that drifted over the banks of the path from the deep red carpets of the forest. It's dark. It's oppressive. Is there anything good to eat or drink?
No, except spider meat.
Yeah, which they did not try.
Except that one glowy deer they see.
What?
One glowy deer they see.
Yes, the feasts that they see, but they can't ever get to. Just a second. I've written a note to myself, and I want to understand why. Oh, I know why. So what is the most important thing when you're walking through Mirkwood? Don't go off the path. Don't leave the path. Because if you do, you will never, ever find it again. And did they leave the path?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they leave the path. Because of those elvish feasts that they saw. Now, let's talk about characters again. Tell me a little bit about Bilbo. We talked about Bilbo last week. What changes do you see in Bilbo in this week's reading?
He gains a little leadership.
He's becoming a leader, isn't he? In fact, after he saves them all from the spiders, it says, oh, actually, this is not after he saves them from the spiders. Oh, 164. That will be it. Oh, this is not that either. Well, okay, before I read this, let's talk about what Bilbo has done. First of all, he picked the pocket of a troll, but that didn't go very well. What else has he, well, what has he accomplished on his own, and what has he done for the dwarves? He's gotten away from goblin caverns by himself. He had a ring. He confronted, he had a contest with Gollum. He got away from Gollum. He didn't get eaten by Gollum. How about the spiders?
He saved them.
He saved them single-handedly.
I mean, yeah, like, also.
Yes, but you know what? I'm trying to think. If I had a magic ring that made me invisible, but I was still surrounded by enormous spiders,
I would just.
see, I feel like I would just run. And you know what? Would anyone have blamed Bilbo if he had run away and said, there was just nothing I could do? I don't think anybody would have blamed him. I don't think Gandalf would have blamed him.
Still chosen to tease on them.
And yes, Adderkop is actually an Anglo-Saxon word for spider. It's not made up. He rescues all of them, okay, from the spiders. Where else does he rescue them?
Like what we've seen,
Mm-hmm.
or what's
No, what we've seen so far. So they're all the way up to the Lonely Mountain.
he helped save them from trolls.
He helped save them from the trolls. What happened after they got away from the spiders? Where'd they end up, Julia?
Freed them from the elves.
He freed them from the elves' prison. He hatched the plan. He stole the keys from the guard. He let them all out of their cells, led them to the barrels, packed them in the barrels, and got away. They were not very happy about this escape because it wasn't very comfortable, but they got away. And this was the part I wanted to read. After they got out of the barrels,
They weren't too happy.
yeah. Why? Sometimes I feel like I write down the wrong page number because it. The dwarves say, "We shall be bruised and battered to pieces and drowned too, for certain." Very well, said Bilbo, very downcast, and also rather annoyed. "Come along back to your nice cells, and I will lock you all in again, and you can sit there comfortably and think of a better plan. But I don't suppose I shall ever get a hold of the keys again, even if I feel inclined to try." This was too much for them, and they calmed down. In the end, of course, they had to do just what Bilbo suggested, because it was obviously impossible for them to try and find their way out into the upper halls or fight their way out of the gates that closed by magic. So Bilbo has become the leader. Then they get to the Lonely Mountain. Just a second, I don't want to go past where. Oh, no, okay, you haven't read that yet. Is Bilbo the same hobbit that left the Shire without his pocket handkerchief at this point?
No.
He's changed, hasn't he? Do you think that guy sitting there blowing smoke rings and good morning in Gandalf would say, "I could take a little elvish sword and kill enormous spiders and rescue other people and creep around in elf halls and hatch plans for escape," and he's not the same that he was. Do you think sometimes things happen to us and it changes us forever? What do we learn about Thorin in this section? Specifically, why does Thorin, what would Thorin need to do to get out of jail in the elves' prison?
Why he was in the forest.
Tell him why he's there. Why does he not tell them?
That would have ended up bad because he would have ended up having to give some of the money away.
And what does Thorin not want to do at any cost?
He's already getting greedy.
He's already getting greedy. He doesn't want to give anything away. It's not the elves' money. It's not the elves' business. I don't want him to know what I'm up to. And I'd rather sit and rot in prison till they let me out. Yes, says on. See, once again, I've written down a page number, and it doesn't really say what I wanted to say. And I don't understand what I was thinking or doing when I wrote. I used a different copy of the book. All right, that explains so much. I was kind of worried that I was mentally unwell.
Hallucinating?
What?
Hallucinating?
Yes, there's something really wrong with my brain. All right, well, I won't try to find it, but I wrote it down where he said he didn't want to give them a share of the treasure. Let's talk about what I want you to write. Let's do that. We are going to work on 2 different kinds of papers this semester. And one is the 5-paragraph persuasive essay. We're going to upgrade it hopefully to 6-paragraph. Eventually we're going to add a section, which you will really like. You will like the extra section we add. These are the ones we've done. Should so-and-so have done something, right? You've done these. You just gave one to me. Would you like to live in the Middle Ages or not? And you're going to defend your position. The other kind of paper I want to do is sort of the Walter and Griselda type. How do we write about literature? How do we write about a piece of literature? And here's what I want you to do. I want you to write 1 paragraph. Can everybody see this? Oh, okay. Is there something I can do to help you see it? Well, Anne can't help that she's not in, see-through.
Where she is though.
Not because we can't see the face.
Here's, and you're going to choose Bilbo or Thorin. We're going to write about character, and I thought these are the characters that we probably know the most about. Gandalf has disappeared in the book. He is not see-through. But he has gone on a little side journey of his own, and he told the dwarves, look, this is your journey anyway. It's your kingdom, it's your treasure. This isn't my adventure, this is your adventure. And hopefully we can catch up with each other before the end. But so we know something about Gandalf, but I'd like to just, the ones that we've spent a lot of time with. We seem to know them well. And here's what I'd like your paragraph to look. I'm actually going to tell you what each sentence, how to lay this paragraph out. So this will be really easy assignment. Start with a topic sentence. In other words, who are you talking about? It'll be something like, in The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, we meet a hobbit named Bilbo. In The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, the leader of the dwarves is their king, Thorin Oakenshield. Somehow I need you to say what character you're talking about, but it would be good to put it in the book. Bilbo is a hobbit. Okay. Is he your next door neighbor? Is he? Tell me more. But if you phrase it like I did, that would be fine. Yes, Bryn. Yes. So why don't I put this down? Include title and author. Whenever you write about literature, you should give the author in the title, so people know what you're talking about. Okay. 2. What motivates this character? In other words, I'll say this 2 ways. What is important to him? That's another way of saying the same thing. So I put it in parentheses. Motivate comes from motion, right? If something motivates you, it puts you in motion. If you have cookies on a plate, it will motivate me to get up and walk across the room and take a cookie. Almost always. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Does it make sense, Katya? Okay. What do they want more than, what generally motivates them? Bilbo's a little complicated because I want to say comfort and pleasure motivate Bilbo, but I find him in the middle of an adventure. So there must be more to him than that. Thorin has a couple of things that motivate him, but what else might motivate Thorin?
Like getting the dwarfs, like kingdom together.
This was my family's kingdom. This is my dad's realm. I'm the heir. I'm the king under the mountain, for crying out loud. And so if you were a king and you're in exile, but you'd like to be king again, certainly you would get money and power, but what else would you get from being king again? What else might you want? Power. But there's something sort of you can't really quantify. How do people look at Thorin now? If he's just walking around, what do people think? Yes. Right now they think, oh, it's just some random dwarf. But when it's the king, it's like, oh, he's king of the dwarves. You get respect. You get honor. That can be a motivator for a lot of people, and dwarves. And elves, maybe. And maybe hobbits. I don't know. Not so much. Okay, revenge. You killed my family. You stole my stuff. So there's a lot there. So I think both of these characters, you know, there might be some motivations. Okay, next up. Choose 2 character traits. Where are you going to get these character traits? I will remind you. If everybody will turn in your reading guide to page 74. I'm even going to put page 74 here, just to remind you. And you will see a list of character qualities. I might say Bilbo is creative. He shows creativity. But here's what I have to say. When do you see this quality? Bilbo turns out to be creative. When would you see Bilbo being creative? Okay, yeah, first of all, when he has to kill the spiders, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to taunt them, tease them, and get their attention and lead them away. Or when I have to help my friends escape from the dungeons. Okay, barrels go out through that hole. That seems to be the only way out. How can I get them in the barrels?
Making up the riddles for Gollum.
Making up the riddles.
Especially for when he was talking to himself.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what have I got in my pocket? And Gollum thought it was a real question. He was like, okay, that's my question.
Mm-hmm.
What have I got in my pocket?
Yeah, he just went with it. So everybody turn, if you're not already at that, pick something that you think might describe Thorin on that list. Rashness, okay. Thorin, if you think Thorin is rash, where do you see Thorin being rash? Can you think of an example of that? Oh. Okay, and where do you think he's unfair? Okay, you know, one place, they get really mad at Bilbo after the troll incident. Sort of mad at. Why did you wake him up? Why did you make him notice you? Why didn't you?
You go next.
Yeah, or I just read this. when he says, okay, I let you all out of your prison cells and we're going to pack you in barrels. Like, no, 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 no. Fine. Yeah, I'll just put you back in your prison. And then Thorin saw, okay, that was a little unfair. He has figured a way to get us out. Can anybody find something else that might describe Thorin? Oh, endurance. Can you, where do we see him endure? Where do you see him?
In that prison cell.
Okay. Man, I will sit here as long as it takes, but I'm not telling you anything about my money. I will endure prison food and darkness, but I won't share. It's not endurance in a good way, maybe, but, or perseverance, perhaps. Determination, it would be. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to choose 2 character qualities, but don't just say, this character is meh. We see this when, right? And prove it. Prove it. All right? Next, has the character changed so far?
And we put this all in one paragraph.
This is all one paragraph, so this is kind of the order, if that makes sense. Bilbo is a character in The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. He seems to love comfort and food, but also apparently likes to be thought adventurous, even if that's only buried deep down inside him. Because he's got tooth blood in him. Yes. So yes, just kind of follow. Luke, this is basically your outline, except we're not filling in the point. We're just answering the questions. And if so, if the character has changed, how have they changed? If not, why not? Maybe you don't see any change. We already said that Bilbo has changed, that he's become kind of stepped up to a leadership role. Maybe you don't see any change in Thorin.
He's kind of getting a bit more greedy.
Okay. And then we could say, well, why do you think that is?
So he gets
Well, let's keep it in your, but that's a very good response. But okay, you know what? You can say it. We can just share. You can steal anything anyone says. You can use anything you want. Okay. Final sentence. And you're going to sum up.
Is number 4 2 sentences? Or is that just one?
Any of these could be more than one sentence. These are points. I mean, this is probably going to be one sentence. This probably is going to be one sentence. I can see this being at least 2 sentences, if not more. It just depends on what you're choosing, the answer you're choosing, but it could easily be more than one sentence. Then a final sentence. What would this sound like? Something like, Bilbo is an interesting character in the book because he started out a little fat and lazy, and now he's running around killing spiders and rescuing people. Or Thorin, I find Thorin to be an annoying character in this story because he's got bad motivations and he's not very kind, or something like that. Just sum it up. In other words, just so you're not just leaving a paragraph hanging, right, on the edge of a cliff. Does this assignment make sense to everybody? Okay. And we're going to expand this. Eventually, we're going to do, this is just going to be one paragraph in a multi-paragraph paper. But I thought if we can get used to, okay, what do we write about? When we're writing about a character, what do we write about? These are some things to write about. Yes, Bryn? Yes, I can post this video if you want to watch this all again. I want you to include P1, P2, strong verb, alliteration, and have you guys started I can't remember if it's the high schoolers or you guys, hopefully all. Do you guys have a list in the back of your reading guide of all the things that you put on your papers? Because you need your own checklist, right? Somewhere you should have started a list. We're going to add something to the list. If you have not started a list, you should start a list. So to make sure you don't leave anything out. And you can write these things down on your list. I would just do it on the back of the prayers. So all you have to do is go to the very last page. That's what I would do. Because then you don't have to hunt for it. And I would write a list, because everything you write for me, you want all of these things. So every time you write, you can just flip back there and say, did I do it? You boom, 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 yes. All right? So P1, P2, strong verb alliteration. Does anybody need any of those things defined again? Okay, I think we got it. Next one is simile. And we are going to spend a little time talking about what a simile is and how to make one. My flags were similes in The Hobbit. Why doesn't one of you tell me what a simile is, first of all? What is a simile, Ben?
Comparing two things using like or as.
Comparing two things using like or as. Now, yes, that is the basic definition. I have this, and I say it's like that, or it's as whatever as this thing. However, not every comparison is a good simile. For example, if I say, Jim is like his brother Joe. You know, maybe they're both tall, maybe they're both annoying. I don't know. I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. Is that a simile? It's not a figure of speech. These are figures of speech. I'm not giving you insight into Jim or Joe. As a matter of fact, if you don't know either one of them, I still don't know either one of them. But if I say Jim is as strong as an ox, do you think Jim is literally as strong as an ox? Can Jim pull a cart? Oh, but maybe. Probably not, though. Probably I'm just trying to give you some information about Jim that makes a picture in your mind. So if I say, Sally's hair is like Susie's hair. Does this help you picture their hair? Not unless you know, yeah, Susie or Sally. But if I say, Sally's hair shines in the sun like thin spun strands of gold. All right, now I see it. Now, is Sally's hair actually valuable? Can you pay for things with Sally's hair?
Yeah.
No. Is it heavy like gold? No. Is it hard? Can you take a hammer and bend it into jewelry? There's only one way Sally's hair is like gold.
Yeah.
It's the color. It's the glowing color. So, saying the lights in here are like the lights in the sanctuary, no. The lights in here are like rectangular doorways to another dimension. I don't know. If you just kind of picture them as being open. And you can just step through them into that light. Okay, that's a little creepy. Let me read some of Tolkien's examples of similes. I discovered that Tolkien doesn't use a lot of similes, and they're pretty straightforward. He's describing the original approach of Smaug to the Lonely Mountain. The first we heard of it was a noise like a hurricane coming from the north. All right, is the dragon bringing rain?
No.
Is he thundering?
No.
No, it's just that whooshing noise. He could have said a noise like a railroad train, like a huge railroad train. Gollum lived on a slimy island of rock in the middle of a lake. He was watching Bilbo now from the distance with his pale eyes like telescopes. Gollum should scare you. The bees at Beorn's. They were, okay. The drones were bigger than your thumb, a good deal, and the bands of yellow on their deep black bodies shone like fiery gold. All right, I'm going to just read one more. Oh, it's the one I already read. The light only showed them endless lines of straight gray trunks, like the pillars of some huge twilight hall. So when we write a simile, we need to think of what we're going to describe, and we need to think of something that's like it, but like it in only one way. For example, the dog looked like a wolf. Dogs and wolves are pretty close. The dog growled like, well, again. No, see, comparing it to any other animal, it's just an animal growling. The growl of the dog was like, what? What? Oh, yes, like my uncle's stomach when he hasn't eaten for 2 hours or something like that. Or the scream of the baby was like fingernails on a chalkboard to my nerves. What do you got, Luke? Were you thinking of something?
The baby scream was as loud as the jet engine.
Okay, yes. Because that baby is not like a jet engine in any way except for the noise. The baby cannot fly. The baby cannot take passengers. The baby does not charge tickets.
That's the goal. Eventually it takes passengers.
Eventually, maybe. Does that make sense to you guys? This is not easy. And your first similes may not be very good. It's okay. You get better. You get better with practice. You were talking about basketball at the beginning of the class. The very first time you tried to dribble or shoot a basketball, was it amazing? Were you amazing?
Yes.
Probably not. But you've practiced since then. We will do simile practice. Okay, that's the other thing I want you to do. I want you to read those next chapters of The Hobbit, read the next section, and I'm just warning you in advance. The Mills reading is a little longish, but it's just a lot of artists, and I wouldn't worry about knowing everything about the artists when you come. Answer the questions, and we'll look at some of their artwork, and write this paragraph. Yes, Luke?
Can you give me, like, just one strong verb real quick, just to make sure?
Oh, yes. So instead of want, since that might go in this, desire, covet, burn, a detailed verb. So instead of say, Thorin was unfair when he said, when he yelled, when he accused, when he threatened,
Bellowed.
when he bellowed. Does that make sense, Luke?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I'll shut this down.